I'm Myra.
And I'm Tressa. We are fancy marketing people with Union, a Wyoming-based telecommunication company. Yes, Wyoming really does exist. We proudly serve the Rocky Mountain region.
On this podcast, we will feature businesses, organizations, nonprofits, and influential people from Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming.
Our mission is to highlight those who inspire their communities daily.
We believe this makes us truly authentic because a journey of 1,000 miles always begins with a single step. Hey, Tracy.
Hey, Mira.
What's up?
We're just going to rename each other.
I know. Typically, you're Tessa.
Yeah, or Teresa.
Teresa. You're like chorizo. I don't know. Every time people call you Teresa, like Teresa, I'm like chorizo. Like, I don't know. That's my favorite.
Well, our sound engineer, Keith, who's known me for quite a few years now, just called me Tracy. So it's all good. At least the T came out, right?
Yeah, that's all that matters. It stands for something.
It's interchangeable.
Yeah,
it's called much worse, so it's good.
Yeah.
I can handle that.
Well, so the holidays are here.
No, I don't want that.
Well, it's happening. It's in full force. Do you have any cool gifts you bought anybody yet?
Oh, I bought
Or have you start? Oh, yourself. Cool what have you bought yourself?
Well, I mean, shoes. You know how much I love shoes. So, yeah.
That's all you bought?
That's all I bought.
Where are you going to get Troy?
We don't buy each other Christmas gifts. So we usually do a trip. So we're going to go to Vegas and see the Vegas Golden Knights play and spend a couple days there the week before Christmas. So
that's fun.
Because, I mean, let's just be honest. Neither one of us need anything, really.
Every day is Christmas.
Every day is Christmas.
That's what I feel. Yeah. That's my life. I know. It's so funny because we don't really like try to buy each other crazy gifts and like with our bathroom and all this stuff. Like, yay, we've spent a bunch of money and I don't ever want to see money leave my bank account again type of moment. Yeah. But we try to buy like little things. But it's so funny because I buy myself everything. And so there is no day that goes by that's not Christmas for me.
Yeah.
And little Magnolia is struggling. I see these memes on the internet and they're like, moms around Christmas, if you run out of toothpaste, you're like, no, we can't buy toothpaste because that'll be part of your Christmas.
That'll be part of your Christmas.
And that's how I feel right now. Nola will be like, oh, can I get this candy bar? I'm like, no. That'll be part of your
You're going to have candy in your stocking.
You're never going to have candy. I'm never buying you a gift again. But yeah, it's just been kind of funny with her because she's at the age where she's like understanding that you have to wait to get the gift. And every day I can't just buy you gifts. Her life is a gift.
Her life is a gift.
It's like,
you've got food, clothes.
Yeah. But this year I bought Blake tickets and he... will not let me tell him because that's my problem.
Oh, yeah.
I struggle. So I buy things and then I get so excited about it that I have to either give it to you already or I just tell you. Like, it's very difficult.
I just about spilled the beans because I know what the tickets are too.
Well, we can say it.
Oh, we can say it.
Yeah, he won't listen.
Oh.
He doesn't listen to our podcast viewers or listeners, just letting you know. And by the time this airs, will have gone.
Adam Sandler,
yeah,
right?
I got him tickets to see Adam
Yes.
Sandler. And he has no idea at this moment. And he loves Adam Sandler. And so when we, like it's, like you have rainy day movies or your sick movies, like that you just want to watch. It's always an Adam Sandler movie for Blake. And he doesn't really care for concerts. That's just not his thing. And that's my thing. And I've accepted that. So I go with other people to concerts. But I saw the show was coming. And I'm like, oh, okay, we got to go.
Yeah, so. He's going to love it.
Yeah, but he won't let me tell him.
Well, I don't blame him.
I'm dying about it. I'm struggling.
People want a surprise, Myra.
I don't. I don't do surprises. Would you guess?
No, I wouldn't.
Just tell me. Let's just get it,
Well, I love that. I mean, that's what we always say. It's more about experiences now than things. We want to go see things and do things. So I'd rather put my money into that.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
And even with Nola, I mean, she's only 4, but I'm noticing my gifts are changing for her. I don't want to do just a bunch of like I feel like in the first couple of years I was buying her random things. Like, why am I even buying these things? And so we're doing like a dress up station. So just a bunch of really nice princess dresses and accessories and shoes. And that's her big gift.
Yeah, I love that.
Because every day she comes home and puts on a different princess dress and high-heeled boots and jumps off the side of the house, you know. So I don't...
Does an obstacle course.
Yeah, it's a whole
like
thing.
Every 4-year-old should.
Yeah. Yeah. Or she dances and puts on a performance. So I feel bad for her brother. Like she'll have an audience of one. Yeah. He can't move. So I have to watch her show.
Yeah, for a while he's going to be stuck.
Yeah, he's going to be like, shit. So...
All right. Well, should we get into the show today? Okay. So today we have Lisa Jones joining us. She's our HR manager here at Union. And the three of us wanted to just talk about mental health awareness, both in the workplace and in your life in general. Because we do spend a lot of time at work. But I think what you do in one aspect of your life, you do in multiple aspects of your life.
I agree.
So welcome. Lisa?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. You're funny.
Leader.
I don't know what Myra had for lunch, y'all, but
either.
It's been wild.
Some tomato basil soup.
And maybe
it's a
it's
little
smelling the
spunky.
cup.
Yeah, this is like 9-day-old coffee cup sitting beside me. That's what. So we had everybody to believe. Yeah, no, I'm high on life, everybody. Anywho, we'll get to the meat of this because this is a great episode, and I'm excited that you are joining us today and that we're able to nail this down, especially right here before the holidays.
Yeah, it's important this time of year.
Yeah.
It affects more people this time of year than it does any other time of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that. I just wrote a brief definition of mental health that I kind of wanted to start with, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
Mental health refers to a person's emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It encompasses an individual's ability to manage stress, maintain healthy relationships, work productively, make sound decisions, and cope with the challenges of life. Good mental health is characterized by emotional resilience, positive self-perception, and the ability to handle various situations. So that's I just put together a few thoughts there. I think one of the ones that I focus on the most personally is your positive self-perception. Mm-hmm. I think that for me, what I've found through my journey is that is the foundation for me to be in a good state mentally, physically, emotionally. If I can have a positive self-reflection and I'm talking good to myself, I'm being kind to myself, treating myself like a best friend or a puppy. I thought about this. I'm like, can you imagine if everybody treated themselves like they do their dogs?
That would work.
Like, isn't that beautiful?
Rubbing your belly. I love you, Billy.
Yeah.
Like you walk in and you're like, oh my gosh, you're so cute. Look at those cheeks. Do you want a treat?
That would give me a positive outlook immediately. But I wrote almost the same thing that you did.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's so important. The problem is that we can talk about this and we can say what we've seen or we've read, but that person that is facing this or feeling this has no idea they're in it until sometimes they're so deep in it that really it takes someone else to try to pull them out. So I think talking about this is fantastic, but we also need to focus on how do we help someone when we see this, because we work with them every day. We see how they react at work. We see how they interact at work. But do we have that autonomy to walk up to our friend or our colleague and say, hey, are you doing okay today? I hope we do, and I hope to get there someday.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And even if you do, I've been in this situation where you can see a change in somebody, right? Mm-hmm. That maybe something's going on that's not healthy or troubling them. And then you ask them and they say they're okay. How far do you push?
Exactly.
Like there's this line and how do you understand that?
Yeah, I think breaking the barriers of that line will be one of the most important things we do focusing on something like this. I mean, I grew up watching this with my mom, and then I have a sister that also suffers from depression all the time, not just seasonal. But so I grew up with it. So I always think, well, I know exactly how to approach someone. I don't. Because approaching someone, every single person feels it differently than someone else feels it. So I would be open if you saw a big change in me for you to walk up and say something, and it would open a dialogue. But everybody's different.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I'm aware mental health is not a one size fits all. There's all different variations, but what are some common challenges that people can look for, people may see, or may look to recognize in their friends, family, colleagues?
I think some of the most common things are that big change in how they act. When I come to work every day, I talk to everybody on my team and people as I walk through the hall, and I'll notice a difference in the way they just respond to me when I say hi. And depending on how they respond, I might stop and chat for a second. And if it's just the normal, hey, how are you today? I keep going. But I think it just is going to take us all to learn how to see different things in different people. Growing up, I didn't even know that my mom was suffering this. I just thought that was the way we lived. That was life. And it was later on in life after I left the family, I realized I could have helped. I could have done something, but it was too late by then. I had already left the family. We eventually went back, but for 20 years, I distanced myself from a person that just needed help, and I couldn't recognize it. So every day I spend my days trying to recognize when somebody else just needs a little bit of something. It's annoying. Most people say I'm annoying, but that's who I am.
Well, I love it because what you're describing is like slowing down and taking time for people, right? And so often throughout our busy lives and days, we might walk past somebody and say the idle, how are you doing today? And not even look them in the eye. We're not even caring how they are, to be honest, right? We're just doing these things out of, being polite or what we're supposed to do. But I love what you're talking about, even if you just slow down a little bit and truly look at them. How are you today? And have interest in it, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a big difference that people could even do, that one little thing.
And it'll put stress on us too when we start adding this to our already over full plate. But what I get from it when someone gives me the happy, hey, how are you, back, or when I just stop for a few minutes and chat, there's just something that it does for me. So when I walk away, even if I came in maybe in not such a good mood, I feel a little bit better. I feel like I said something or I did something, and this person knows I really did want to hear how you are today. But most of the time, you're running so fast, you don't really notice it. This time of year is when I focus mostly on it, and I'll stop more often this time of year.
Yeah.
Someday I'd like to do it year-round, but I don't know if I'll get there.
Yeah.
Goals.
Yeah. I think like what you're hitting on is right now is really the recipe for a lot of things to come back and revisit others who may not, they may not be dealing with it all the time, but then it may be heightened during this season, or it may just that old friend that you don't really, it's not a friend, but it's coming back and it's full force. So I do think it's still valuable taking the time right now to just really give people time, give people the space that they need. I'm bad at not, or I'm bad at people asking me, hey, how are you doing? And I'm like, I don't have time to talk to you right now. So that's something that I should be more self-aware of myself, just listening to the conversation.
I've actually had you do it to me. I've walked by and you've said hi, and I wasn't very responsive, and you said, are you okay today?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't my normal.
Yeah.
So you do it. I think we do it without noticing it sometimes. It's when we do notice it that it really hits home.
Yeah.
Like, I think I need to go and help someone. Or just listen. I'm not trying to be a doctor or trying to advise anybody on anything. I'm just going to listen to the story they want to tell me.
Yeah.
Which I have so many. Wish they'd listen to me.
Yeah.
But I'm not there for that.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think I think some of the most common mental health struggles that I hear people talk about, you talked about depression, and then I hear, especially in the workplace, anxiety and stress. Those words are thrown around.
Oh, they're awful.
All the time. I've had anxiety myself. I think stress is it could be a healthy part of life. I don't know if it's about how you handle stress, though,
it's
right?
the balance.
Exactly, yeah. I don't think stress is ever completely gone, but it's understanding how to handle it. Is that what you're seeing as well?
With the stress, you see you have stress at home, you have in your home life, and then you come to work and you have stress at work. So eventually they kind of mingle, and then it's just your whole life. There's no work-life balance anymore. It's just stress. Trying to cope with stress is so different for everybody. The only way I've ever found for myself to cope with stress is just to walk with no shoes on, just barefoot. And it hurts most of the time, but it helps me. It helps me refocus somehow. You tell someone else that, they're not a hillbilly from Arkansas. They're not going to walk around in bare feet.
Yeah.
So, but there's so many different ways. And then anxiety, I would challenge any person today to tell me they don't have some form of anxiety. We all have it. It's there. I have anxiety that I'm not going to get everything done in my day that I needed to. I have anxiety that I'm going to fail somebody that was waiting for me today. Mm-hmm. We need to let go of that. Those are barriers for us. We could be so good if we would let go of those anxiety and stressful barriers that are holding us back.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said around anxiety, because I think both anxiety and depression are either in projection or reflection, right? And we're not very good at being truly present. Mm-hmm. Because what you said would make you anxious are things in the future, right? Mm-hmm. Potentially this could happen.
Yeah.
And so some of the things for me, like you walking barefoot, I would love to try that actually. But some of the things that help me stay balanced are like a daily meditation, daily exercise of some form, right? To let that out of the physical body, grounding, those kind of things. So I think everybody just needs to find something that works for them, like you said, but then make it a priority to build momentum in that space, like daily, that they're doing something.
That barefoot is the metaphor for grounding.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get in touch with, I'm grounding myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
So, yeah, that's all really good.
Yeah, I don't ground. I should. I do sometimes. I am not against grounding, so don't think that, people. Yeah, like I like what Tressa is talking about. For me, when I lost my dad, instead of going introverted, because like I was actually just talking to Tressa about this the other day. Yeah. My personality is extroverted, so like my form of coping with depression was in an extroverted way. I didn't recluse in. I didn't hide from others. I kept going, whether or not I was coping or dealing actually with what I was going through. I just picked up things. That's when I started exercising. That's when I changed my whole life around fitness. And I was in college, so at 18, I had never really lived a healthy lifestyle. I was eating like 6 cookies a day, and I don't even drinking a lot of soda. It was not well. It was not a good look. I gained like the freshman 1,000. So, but I totally changed my lifestyle and my mentality, and it's been 10 years now, and it's something that it's me now. Oh, it's who I am now. I don't, whether or not my anxiety around other things have put into play with this journey, but it's something that I adopted at that time to deal with it. And then it changed me who I am as a person. So through that journey, I have a whole different outlook on taking care of myself, and went into more of a different mechanism in life than what I grew up in, all based on my depression. Like something good came from growing out of it.
So I love that story, and I love how you found your own way out. But did you have someone to help you, or is this something that you just recognized about yourself and you knew you needed to change?
I'm really self-aware.
I'm very self-aware
I'm very
myself,
badly
but most
self-aware.
people are not.
Yeah, I'm oddly self-aware. No, I definitely had people that cared and wanted it, but this is me. I'm very independently motivated. And so if I can problem solve a way to get out of it, I'm pretty keen on when I'm being
good.
Even if I have a mentor like Tressa telling me, hey, yo, homie, I'm pretty about like 90% positive I've already picked up on it.
That's good.
Hearing it from someone else helps.
Yeah.
There are people out there that cannot
figure
it out for themselves. They are self-aware people for everyone around them. they're taking care of the family, their kids, their colleagues at work. But for themselves, they go home and hide in their house in the evenings and don't talk to anybody. They don't do anything. They know there's something wrong, but they're focusing more on taking care of everyone else. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that maybe this podcast and all the other things that we do for this will just help people understand there's something wrong, and I want to reach out and I want to help somebody, even if it just takes a minute, like 30 seconds.
Yeah, and I think but the people who do reach out, because this is a role I take often too, is I learned through my experiences and what I've gone through, and because I am so self-aware, I pick up on things, whether I'm an empath or not. I'm picking up on what's happening around me. I can notice the differences when people share things with me. I'm kind of figuring out, piecing it together. Mm-hmm. But this podcast is for those people who are that way, to not take on those emotional stresses.
Exactly.
Because at times when you're that stable ground for someone and you're really trying to help get them out, you can take on those emotions, mm-hmm. or you feel like you're going through it with them. So how do you also, in those moments, keep it separate and stay strong for them, but know that, hey, you can only do so much too.
Right. Because you are self-aware, mm-hmm. and you can manage this. I think there are times that when I've run into somebody that's super depressed, and I can see it, I clearly can tell the difference in the way they're acting, their mannerisms, the way they talk, even the way they call or don't call me. I can tell there's something wrong. But I guess I don't feel like me taking that extra step and taking on a little bit of that burden for them, if that's going to help them, then I'm definitely going to do it. But I understand what you mean, because we can take on too much, which then creates more anxiety and stress in our life. And that was a piece of what I wanted to make sure we talked about today, was trying to help other people. We all want to do it, every one of us. I don't know anyone that doesn't. But sometimes trying to help other people to the point that we've exhausted our own mental health is a problem, and people aren't recognizing that. And the do-gooders, the ones that are always happy and happy-go-lucky and trying to pep everybody up, that person's going home at night and locking themselves in a room because they've taken on so much they cannot function once the day is done. It's a clock-out time. So that kind of depression is really prevalent this time of year, because everybody wants everybody to be happy. It's the holidays, mm-hmm. but not everybody's happy in the holidays.
No.
So. Yeah, why do you think we're not comfortable there sometimes as human beings, right? Like, not everything is always joyful and peaceful, right?
Why can't we just be okay?
Exactly. No, honestly.
You think you're sad, and that's okay.
And and that's okay, right? And I think that's a healthy place to be, because we're emotional people. We're built with emotion for a reason. And so if you feel sadness, it's okay to feel sadness, right? Do we want to stay there forever? No, but to feel it in the moment that you're happening or experiencing it, I think it's very healthy.
I think it is too.
And it's really unfortunate that most of us try to just avoid that or pull somebody away from their raw emotion.
Yeah.
Right?
I think 100%. About it with my daughter. Being a parent, man, teaches you a lot. But she cries a lot. She's just a very emotional person. She's very intelligent, so she has lots of emotions. She feels a lot of things. And this just goes exactly with what you're saying. Sometimes, I let her cry, because it's okay that she's sad. Mm-hmm. It's okay that she's having a meltdown. She needs to feel those emotions. Yeah. So instead of angering or getting upset, or like what you were saying, Lisa, where we're like, oh, be joyful and happy. Mm-hmm. It's letting people feel that emotion, be in the space, and then learn how to deal with it themselves too. They need to learn how to feel it, mm-hmm. and then learn how to work through that emotion. If we're just in a perspective of the child, if you're just cutting them off, same thing goes with the adult. Then if they never feel those things, how will they ever learn to cope or to work through those emotions on their own?
Yeah, they got to learn to problem solve, right? And kind of build that emotional intelligence within themselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When my daughter was around 10, she was emotional. Oh, my. So emotional. And I still look back. We were actually talking about it last night, and it had nothing to do with our podcast today. It just sometimes hits me wrong. I think, I broke my kid, because she was so emotional. And I used to tell her, Azure, that's ridiculous. You shouldn't be feeling that way. Well, she's 10 years old. So instead of going through life going, yeah, I can feel this way and I'm okay to go on, to this day my daughter suffers from depression. And a lot of it probably came from me saying, suppress that. You feel too happy? Suppress it. It's not that moment. You feel too sad? Suppress it. So I'm not working through it anymore. She's out. She's on her own. It's up to her. But I'm supporting her. But I did do it to my daughter. My son was super hypersensitive. So obviously I would never do it to him. He would be crying all day. But my daughter, she was tough like me. So she could take it, but she couldn't take it.
Yeah.
So she deals with that every day.
I think that is so interesting because I think most of us have generational behaviors that we were taught, right? So what you're saying
for me,
is
yeah.
exactly how we were brought up, right? I was
Right.
brought up the exact same way,
Yeah.
right? Things like suck it up,
That's
big
it.
girls don't cry.
Exactly.
I remember hearing that, right? I'm like, well, I'm a little girl, so I'm going to cry, sister. No, I'm joking. But I mean, I think it's a different space and time where we can look at things differently. The way Myra's talking about parenting today is different than the way we were parented.
Absolutely.
And hopefully that starts to make changes in the mental structure that we're seeing.
Yeah, because I don't want to feel that way.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I was not brought
Sure.
up that way, and yes, there was a nurturing environment, but it's kind of, you're kind of conditioned to say, all right, stop crying. Why are you crying? Da, 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 or especially with males, like boys don't cry, those types of things. And so I'm having to work through that myself to allow her to
Sure.
have her emotional intelligence, because I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm working through it. With
You're closing the gap from
Yeah.
the way I was raised. We were raised to, you just don't show it.
Yeah.
If they say smile, you smile. And if they don't say smile, you just don't smile, even if you're happy. So you, with your kids now, are changing that, or closing that gap. And then your child will raise their kids in a different way. I see the way my daughter's raising her kids, and they're completely different. Her kids are outspoken. Her daughter DJ is sassy and has a mind of her own. And I've never seen Azure shut her down, ever. And I used to shut Azure down all the time. She was sassy and outspoken. And then we get to the point where she's not anymore. I didn't even notice it happen because that's what I said to do. And she did it.
Yeah.
So, but you guys raising the kids today, you're changing. So that's all we can hope for. Make it a little better than it was last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for anybody with their mental health, let's just make it a little better than it was the last time they went through it.
Well, when you know better, you do better, right?
Exactly.
You can't, I mean, it's an evolution. So,
Yeah. Do you have any tips on like how to build that resiliency as an adult, like in the workplace, like the people like me or you or Tressa, and not even just in the workplace, in our homes?
I think the biggest tip that I would say in the workplace for sure is talk to somebody. I would say the affinity groups. I would love to see an affinity group for people that do suffer mental health issues, even if it's just a seasonal thing. I'd love to see one of those groups where you go in there and you talk about whatever's going on. It's completely non-judgmental. We're not going to sit at a desk and talk about it. We joke about mental health all the time. And it's sad because we have people sitting near us that are suffering it, but we're making jokes about it. But we're not doing it to hurt anybody. That's the way we cope. So I would like to see some affinity groups for people to talk about this, non-judgmental, be able to just be loud, be out loud with whatever their illness is or whatever they're going through, even if it's just for today. We've got to make that happen here. Other tips that I would say at work is to just get up and walk around. Sitting at the desk, it doesn't matter how hard you're working on or how focused you are on a project. These little niggling thoughts will come into our brain, and you can't shake them. You have to get up and move around. And I see a lot of people that will sit pretty prone at their desk most of the day, maybe get up a couple of times for the restroom. If we can get people to start focusing, just get up and do a little lap around the building once or twice. That's it. I mean, everybody has to find their own thing, but if we can start small like that, I think it would be helpful.
yeah, I mean, I wrote that too, like making sure you do take like a couple of breaks a day. Leave for lunch, right? Go to a different environment.
It's
right?
important.
It really is important. I've had those days where, I'm just power working, or I think I am. right? And I'm
And then you look
chowing
down.
down my lunch at, at my desk. And honestly, if you can be honest with yourself, which is sometimes the hardest thing to do, those are the days that I probably don't produce as much, right? Or I'm not as creative, right? Or I struggle more when I don't allow that time for myself.
Yeah, I've often told my team, I'm just on a ledge today. I don't know what's happening with me today. I just know I'm not going to be able to focus and get the main project done, so we'll work on other things. So even if you have to stop what you're working on and go work on something that's a little bit less heavy, even that would help. You're still going to get your projects done.
Yeah.
It's just going to be in a different way.
Yeah, I haven't been able to as much right now, but I like to try to go to the gym during my lunch hour. And I don't care if I smell bad. I clean up. I put
don't
some
because of
deodorant
that.
on. Yeah, I take care of it to a degree, but it really changes when I do put that effort or energy into that. Whether I'm going to the actual gym or just walking around the building for the whole break or going somewhere, I'm a different person when I come back.
It's crazy.
'Cause I can
Just a
pick
little
up-
walk too.
Yep. So I love that. And then I feel like on my team, and especially in our department, I feel like we are really open. And so when team members come to me and they're expressing maybe something that's not really saying, hey, I'm not okay with my work today, but they're talking about something else, I'm able to say, okay, then how can we shift your work to help you there? I may not be able to help them in their home life. I may not be able to help them outside of that space, but I can make their work a little lighter, or we can work around things. But it's making sure that they feel, one, comfortable to tell me, or comfortable enough to have an open dialogue, which you were talking about, and then allowing me to have the open dialogue back, so that we can create that environment where, I wish I could make it rainbows and sunshines everywhere, like we were saying, but we can make it a little lighter in other places.
Yeah. I love that. I hope that every department has that open dialogue with their people. I see it, and I see it in the places that people don't think you should see it. I see it in construction. They're pretty tough and rumble guys out there, but I see them taking care of each other. So I think it's important everywhere. I love that. I hope we can do it everywhere.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things I love that you say as a leader of your team, right? Some days you tell them, like, hey, I don't have it today. It is not happening, right? Yeah, that happened to me a couple weeks ago. It was on a Friday, and I had a project that I needed to work on that I was avoiding. It had been on my to-do list, my little 5-star to-do list all week. And it was Friday. We had a pretty light crew here, and I just kind of goofed around with the team that day. And I was just like, I will just hit this Monday morning. And we just had fun. It was just a fun day. But one of the things also that's helped me a lot is to know my most productive time personally is in the morning. Mm-hmm. So if I have a project that's going to be more mentally challenging for me, I really try to block out my focus time in the morning to complete that. And I think everybody kind of has their own times a day that serve them, right? We have night owls, we have, early birds. So when you can find that out and kind of prioritize your day around that, that's helped me a lot.
Yeah. And that would go back to Myra's open dialogue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If her team were telling her I'm better in the morning, she knows that. If they're saying I'm better in the afternoon, we all know that, but my team, I think we all do pretty well about telling each other or calling each other out if there's something wrong and they can see it or I can see it. And I just have to be just as vulnerable and not be afraid to tell my team, I have issues here too. Mm-hmm. I have problems here too, and I need your help sometimes. So we all just have to have that open dialogue. I love that you guys do that.
That's how you build trust through the vulnerability. Because I tell my team, they know.
You tell everybody everything.
Yeah, Keith knows. Keith knows. Yeah, I'll be like, y'all, this ain't working today. Like we're gonna hang on, but because I'm able to share that, I think that builds that. It fosters that environment of trust.
It does. Eventually, they will trust you.
Yeah.
It may not happen the first time or the 5th time, but it will happen eventually. So don't give up.
Yeah, that transparency. I think it's just important.
Yeah, that's where I say that I'm super annoying because I'm not going to give up. I know that there's something wrong. I want to help. I mean, I don't mean that. I'm not going to harass somebody. With my team, I want to know, are you okay? What can I do to help you? And if afternoon's better, don't work on this. let's move on. We do something else. So, yeah.
Yeah, I really like the idea, just in general, too, of the shared stories, because if people see the struggles that others have gone through and they've overcome them and what's worked for them or what doesn't work for them, or it's not going to always be the same. It's not going to be step by step,
No,
here's what
never.
you got to do. But if they're looking up to that individual or looking up to someone, they might be like, oh, okay, well, I've seen Lisa go through this. She shared this experience. Maybe I can go, it helps them. So I love the idea of the shared stories, that transparency just in general, because it really helps people see, you're not alone. You're not isolated. You're not the only person in the world that's ever felt that way. And at times I know it's easy to feel like this is only happening to me or,
Yeah.
because it is in your scope. It isn't the only thing in your purview at the time. So hearing others and what they've done, I think is really just one of the best ways to help advocate and to open up that, like I keep saying trust, but it continues to open up.
It does.
That.
It opens the dialogue, and it lets people know it's a safe place to talk, that non-judgmental room. It's no different than trying to do an affinity group. Do it in your department. Make sure they know. I think my team knows. There have been several times they've come in and just sat down and shut the door and started crying. And I don't say a word. I wait until they're ready to talk. And they know they can do that. And I know I can do it to them too. Although I don't cry, I can pretend, but I don't cry. I don't know what, I'm broken. But just knowing that they feel like they can come in with that judgmental piece of that. And then they go right back to work. And then we're fine. But they had that little moment, and I just sat there and let them do what they needed to. Of course, later I'm going to do the mom thing and say, what do you need? Do you need a cookie? Whatever. I need to fix it. But sometimes we can't fix it. We can just listen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, is there anything else, Lisa, that we haven't talked about that you wanted to make sure we hit on before we close today?
I would like to just talk a little bit about everybody has that moment of feeling lonely. I mean, I've been in a room of 100 people and felt so lonely and isolated. We need to get it out there that that's a normal feeling. Every person feels that. But sometimes people will be so hard on themselves, they will throw themselves into a spiral of depression because they could not socialize or could not mingle with those people. I'm super extroverted. I always try to say I'm introverted. I'm super extroverted. And if I can be in a room that big and feel lonely and isolated, anybody can. I've never met anyone that wasn't my friend within a few minutes. But that time I'm talking about, I was in that room, and then for the next 3 weeks, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't focus. I was so obsessed with why couldn't I be social? Why couldn't I talk to people? I knew people in that room. So I just want I want us to try to get it out there that it's okay to feel that way. And it's just not that day. It's an off night, whatever it is. But it took me a long time to get over that. And I haven't felt that. It's probably been about 6 years since that happened. But I haven't felt that again. And it's because I'm aware. I recognized it, and I recognized it in myself. So when I start feeling that way again, I remove myself. I take myself away from what is making me feel that way. So if people can do that, I think that would be important too.
Yeah. I think some of the more lonely times I've felt are in a crowded room, right?
They really are.
Yeah, where you're with, usually it's at a business function, and, I've been asked to attend a reception or something, and I know no one. And I'm on the cusp. Like, I can be introverted, but or extroverted, but I'm introverted in the way that's where I replenish. I have to kind of have my own time. But yeah, I've been in those situations as well. And I'm pretty good with connection. Connection's like my number one Gallup strength, but it is more in a one-on-one setting where I feel more comfortable, or small group, not the larger group. So I've felt that too. And I remember, I think it was the first year of the Governor's Business Forum, and I went to the Governor's reception. And only 2 people went. And it was a previous employee who worked here, and he's very social, and he was off with this whole group of people that he knew. And I just kind of stood there, I think had a glass of wine, shaking. I don't know anyone. But it was really cool because one of the gals, and actually I know her well now. Cindy Delancey was actually there. She's over the Wyoming Business Alliance, and she was standing at a cocktail table, and she must have noticed, right? And she started a conversation, and then I started to feel more comfortable.
Oh, nice.
And so it was really a great experience for me in the fact that if I'm in those situations, I look for the Tressa 5 years ago. I seek those people out, and then
exactly
I
what
can
I
walk
do.
over to
I love
them
it.
and say, "Hey, I'm Tressa.
Yeah.
What's your name?" And so
love
I
that.
can try to make them feel more comfortable. It was a beautiful experience. Really, it was a mentoring experience that I had.
Was it instant when that happened for you, or was it a few years later that you started noticing I can be the Tressa from 5 years ago?
No, it was instant. Like
nice.
that night when I went back to the hotel, I was like, I'm going to do exactly what she just did for me.
Nice.
Right. And then it gave me a different purpose, and it gave me a different sense of comfortability and confidence in those situations. Because it wasn't about me anymore, right?
No.
The focus wasn't on me.
Yeah.
Right. It was on how can I make somebody else potentially in this situation feel more comfortable.
That's exactly the same thing that I'm talking about when we walk down the hall.
Yeah.
And we notice maybe they don't respond the way they typically do.
Yeah.
That's exactly the same thing. Just be that person for them. Because I need that person sometimes, so I want to be that for them too.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to remember that next time I'm in a room full of people and I'm feeling a little stressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I really, I was going to say I like talking about isolation. I do not like talking about but on the subject of isolation, I think that's just a really good topic to bring up in the different perspective of the state that we're in, the region that we're in. It is very isolated, especially in the winter. So there's people who live very in remote places, and then once the snow packs in, it's very difficult to travel out, or they're not as social in the winter. And our winters tend to be really long. And so that's where you get a lot of that seasonal depression. That's where we start feeling that isolation, the loneliness. I do okay in the winters, but when I moved to the state, I was very isolated. I had no friends. I left my whole family. I left everyone I knew, and moved to a community that I didn't know anyone really. And I had like Blake's family, but it's just different. I didn't have a group of people. And then it wasn't until a couple years later that I actually felt not as lonely here. And it was probably more when I started my job here, where I made those connections and those friendships. So those people that are seeking out that are in this state, that are in this region, who, as we're entering the winter months, do you have any advice on places they can go, or anywhere local, even if it's just in the Southwest region of the state, to stay active, to be engaged, they might not have a work setting, or, they may feel lonely at work and they're not comfortable at work. Is there any outside community resources that they could go to?
I think there are the rec center, and I don't think there's a rec center locally here, but there is one in Evanston. On their wall, there's so many groups you can join. I started learning how to cross-country ski when I first moved to Evanston. Even in Utah, the winters aren't as long, and it's horrible. You still get outside. So when I moved to Wyoming, it's like, I have to do something. I'm stuck in this house. So I went to my local rec center, and I found notes in different groups and ERGs, not work-related. There was a book club, and there were book sharing, wine club, which I'm still involved in and still my favorite. But we did a lot of those things. But really, ask somebody sitting next to you. Everybody knows a group that somebody might enjoy. But I would say reach out to your, what's the city office called where you can go in and get the maps and stuff?
Oh, like the Chamber of Commerce?
Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
So many things to help you, link you up to things that you can do. Cross-country skiing is huge around here. Snowmobiling in the Uinta is huge. Ice fishing, I'm not going to do that. But more power to the ones who do. But there's so many places and so many avenues. Just ask somebody sitting next to you, and they'll know something that you might be interested in.
Yeah, and even here, like the Valley Learning Center is a resource, right? Because they're doing, and they specifically focus on different types of classes, and they start in the fall and go into the spring. I think that's partly to help give activity to people in the dead of winter here.
I'm sure
so,
it is.
And they have a lot of different classes that they offer. So that's one resource. I could
My first winter The group that I worked with were all very quiet and kind of isolating to each other. It's just how they were. And so I thought, I can't live here again. I cannot do it. And that's why I finally started going to the rec center. I'm like, I've got to find things. I've got to find outlets to do things. And to this day, some of those people still join those things with me. So eventually I got them to do them too. So just reach out to your neighbor.
Invite people if you're involved in clubs or organizations.
If you like something and you know someone else likes it, invite them.
Yeah.
They can come to your home or you can go to theirs.
Yeah.
The wine club started... the wine and decor club started basically because I asked some lady if I could go and look at her house. And she said, sure, stop by. And we had a glass of wine, and then 8 people were involved, and we all went to each other's house and looked at our houses. So
I love that.
it just started randomly, but I didn't know anyone, and I wanted to know people. I knew I needed to get out of the house because I knew I was going to be depressed if I didn't do something. So self-aware, being self-aware, probably growing up with what I grew up with, makes me even more self-aware, and that's what made me reach out. Because sometimes when you move to a new place, the last thing you want to do is be that one that put yourself out, and they're like, no, you're not going to fit in our groups.
Yeah.
I never gave them the opportunity, but I'm different than some other people. So
I moved away my first winter, and then I moved back. So I don't recommend that one. But
I just went back to Utah every weekend.
I know. I'm like, I bought a dog, and then I forced my husband to relocate, and then we ended up moving back, and we've been here since. So it was.
All in all,
maybe
it worked out.
Made a friend. Yeah, that would have worked out better.
Yeah, that would have worked out.
Cost me less money.
Less money.
One of the hardest things to do today as an adult is make a friend. It is so hard. We can make friends at work. We can chat. We can go to dinner once in a while. But that is not that friend that you can call when you are feeling depressed. That's not the person you can call. So as adults, we need to learn that we're no different than when we were 10. We need friends. We need our tribe with us.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the conversation
Thank you for
today,
having me.
Lisa. We really appreciate it. One final question we ask all of our guests, since the podcast is called Authentic Wyoming, is how do you stay authentic?
I absolutely love Wyoming. I stay authentic by just driving here in the mornings. I look at the landscape and I look at the sky. I look at everything and I'm just wowed. And I've lived in Utah. There's nothing like Wyoming. And I've only been in Wyoming since 2015. I'm not sure where I was before because it is truly where I should have been. All this time, as loud as I am, Wyoming needed me.
I love it.
I like that. I'm going to make that my slogan. As loud as I am, because at least Wyoming needed me. I don't know if they felt like they did, but
I don't know if anyone. They got me now.
Yeah. Sorry.
I love it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. We really appreciate it, Lisa.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
This was good. I hope we touched a few people today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Me too.
Oh.
Until next time.
Stay authentic.